Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. In Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you also follow me on all my social media platforms to stay connected with all Keek on the Mic news. Before I go any further with today's episode, I just want to remind you guys once again that I will be going live on Thursday starting at 4:30 p.m. PST for the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft. So make sure you hit that bell notification. Make sure you share the content. And make sure you share the channel with every single Bears fan that you know, and come join that live stream and let's have a good time for the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft. So today on the Keek on the Mic, I wanted to come on here and give you guys my final Chicago Bears mock draft. And I'm only going to do the 4-round mock draft. I'm not going to do the full 7. I'm basically going to say for rounds 5, 6, and 7, we're just going to take the best player available, whoever's on the board, whoever fits the needs, what we need. That's who we're going to take. But for the purpose of today's final Chicago Bears mock draft, right here on Keek on the Mic, I am going to do a 4-round Chicago Bears mock draft for you guys. And I am going to do it via PFF Mock Draft Simulator. So I'm going to be giving you guys live pick by pick for this final Chicago Bears 4-round mock draft. Like always, before I begin with the final Chicago Bears mock draft, make sure you follow along. Make sure you comment down below in the comment section and let me know how you like my picks and what you would do if you were in Ryan Poles' shoes. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for you guys. So now you guys can see the PFF Mock Draft Simulator, which I know a lot of you guys say that this one is a little bit more realistic, and I absolutely agree. So I basically have everything already set up. We're going to do a pretty, for speed, we're going to do turbo, which is already set to 4 rounds. I'm going to select the Chicago Bears at number 9 overall, and we're going to go ahead and enter the NFL Draft. And obviously, I'm not going to do any trades. I'm going to let the Bears pick come to us. So I'm going to go ahead and start the NFL Draft. And the Bears are now on the clock. So we can take a look at the first 9 picks. Obviously, Bryce Young goes number 1, CJ Stroud at number 2 to the Texans, which that can be up in the air. The Texans are not really guaranteed to take a quarterback at number 2, so that can definitely affect the Chicago Bears pick come Thursday. Will Anderson Jr. at 3, Anthony Richardson at 4 to the Colts, Jalen Carter, Devin Witherspoon, Will Levis, and Tyree Wilson. So the Chicago Bears are now on the clock at number 9 overall. And when you look at the board, it fell how I expected it to. You know, Peter Skoronski still on the board, Bijan Robinson still on the board, JSN still on the board. You have a guy like Nolan Smith, Kalijah Kancey still on the board. Obviously, you have Paris Johnson Jr. still on the board, right? So there's a lot of options for the Chicago Bears to choose from if they do, in fact, want to stay at number 9 overall. So there's a lot of trade packages. Obviously, there may be some teams, for example, if Bijan Robinson falls or if Paris Johnson Jr. does fall to number 9 for some reason, right? There are probably going to be some teams that are willing to trade up with the Chicago Bears. So let's look at some of the trade packages. The Tennessee Titans at number 11 are interested in the Chicago Bears pick, which is a realistic scenario come Thursday night for the first round of the NFL Draft. Some other teams that are interested are the Houston Texans, the Green Bay Packers at number 13, which you all know I'm not trading with the Green Bay Packers, Bears fans. You guys may do it in your mock drafts, but I know for sure that I'm not trading with the Green Bay Packers. We have the New York Jets at number 15, the Commanders at 16, the Pittsburgh Steelers at 17. So there's a lot of teams. You can see all these lists of teams that are interested in this PFF mock draft simulator that are interested in trading up for pick number 9 from the Chicago Bears. And honestly, when I look at how it's fell to us, I would obviously be interested in making a deal with the Houston Texans. If, for example, if the Houston Texans don't go quarterback with the number 2 overall pick, and they do, in fact, take Will Anderson Jr., for example, and they want to trade up for a quarterback, I would be willing to do business with the Houston Texans. But in this scenario and how this PFF mock draft simulator fell to us, you can obviously see that the Houston Texans took CJ Stroud out of Ohio State. Another team that I'm really interested in trading with is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is a team, as the draft gets closer, has been rumored to contact the Chicago Bears multiple times. The Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for their offensive tackle for the future. They do have a huge hole. We have a huge hole. So obviously, if the Pittsburgh Steelers want to trade up 8 spots to number 9 with the Chicago Bears, it's going to have to be a massive haul. So what I'm going to explore the Pittsburgh Steelers deal, right? So I'm fine with trading down, especially if you have a lot of people still on the board and how the board fell to us. You still have Skoronski, you still have Bijan Robinson, you still have Harrison Johnson Jr., you still have Darnell Wright from Tennessee, right? You still have Kalijah Kancey. So there's still options for the Chicago Bears if they do in fact want to trade down. So I'm going to offer to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I want number 17. I'll take number 49, and I'll take a next year second round pick for the number 9 overall pick. I would love to have that number 32 overall. If the Chicago Bears want number 32 overall, for example, we can give up number 9, take number 49 off the board, right? Take round 2, and literally it'd just be number 17 and number 32. So we can try this trade scenario. I'm not sure what trade scenario you guys would like. Would you guys like 17 and 32 for 9, or would you like 17, 49 and next year's second for number 9? So let me know down below in the comment section what you would do in this scenario. But for the purpose of this video and just being more realistic, I can see the Pittsburgh Steelers offering 17, 49, and possibly maybe a next year's second, right? And I'm just going to do a forced trade just so it actually goes through. There we go. So we send Pittsburgh Steelers the number 9 overall pick. The Bears get number 17, 49, and next year's second. So obviously adding another second round pick this year and another second round pick next year, and possibly still be able to trade down to number 17 and gain a quality player that can come in right away and be effective for the Chicago Bears roster. So how do you guys like this trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and would you accept this trade if it was actually a real thing come Thursday night in the first round of the NFL draft? Let me know down below in the comment section. So we're going to go ahead and resume the NFL draft, and now we are at pick number 17, and obviously in this scenario, this is when things would get kind of tricky, right? Because as you can see, Darnell Wright went number 15 to the New York Jets. So that would be a big blow if we traded down to number 17 and we missed out on a guy like Darnell Wright, right? So when you look at the board, which to me, this seems a little bit unrealistic. You still have Bijan Robinson from Texas. You have Kalijah Kancey. He can be there possibly, right? I don't think Bijan Robinson is going to be there at number 17. If he is there, I'll be fine with the Chicago Bears taking him. But for the purpose of this video and trying to make it the most realistic as possible, I'm not going to select Bijan Robinson here. So as you're looking at the draft board and how it falls, you saw Bijan Robinson, Dalton Kincaid, Kalijah Kancey, Brian Branch, Myles Murphy, edge rusher from Clemson would be another guy. Deonte Banks, cornerback from Maryland, Joey Porter Jr., cornerback out of Penn State, Jordan Addison, a wide receiver. If you really want a wide receiver, you have Anton Harrison, a tackle out of Oklahoma, Quentin Johnson, wide receiver out of TCU. So the Bears would have some options. To be realistic with you guys, if this is how it played out, if Paris Johnson Jr., guys like Nolan Smith, Broderick Jones, and Darnell Wright are all gone after you trade down from 9 to 17, I would be most comfortable with the Chicago Bears taking Kalijah Kancey, defensive lineman out of Pittsburgh. I know a lot of people have some questions about his short arms, but I feel like he has a high motor. He could be that 3 technique. He can play anywhere along the defensive line. And I think by being able to trade down, add another second this year and another second next year, and still be able to get a quality player in Kalijah Kancey that can come in and be effective in this Matt Eberflus defense right away. I think that would be a huge time pick for the Chicago Bears. So I'm going to go ahead and select Kalijah Kancey, defensive lineman out of Pittsburgh, with the number 17 overall pick. So now we are moving on, and like I said, we're now going to have 3 second-round picks. So we're going to have picks number 49, 53, and 61. So the Chicago Bears will be able to have the opportunity to add 3 more quality players to their roster. And as you look how it fell to the Chicago Bears, here's how it fell. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, running back at Alabama. I'm not sure if the Bears are going to add a running back in this draft, maybe later on. I'm not sure if they would do it as early as the second round, but Jahmyr Gibbs is on the board. You have Steve Avila, a guard out of TCU. You have Sam Laporta at tight end. You would obviously take a cornerback, and Daniel Dell is a guy that's interesting, wide receiver out of Houston. You have DJ Turner. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and look at the offensive tackles that are available. And right now, it's not looking good. How it's falling, it's not playing out how I would want it to. So we're going to go ahead and look at the center position, because we understand that we also need to upgrade at the center position. And when you look at the board, Luke Welper, center out of Ohio State, still on the board. Joe Tippmann, the center out of Wisconsin, still on the board. So there's still some quality centers on the board. And at pick number 49, I would be comfortable with taking Luke Welper, center out of Ohio State. This is a guy that has a whole lot of experience. We talked about him on the podcast before. He's been a part of my mock drafts before. This is a guy that can possibly come in and be a day one starter for you on this offensive line. We all know that we need to upgrade this offensive line. I don't think we should move forward with a guy like Lucas Patrick. Or Cody Whitehair at center. I think it would be smart just to upgrade the center position. So in this scenario, at pick number 49, I will select Luke Welper, the center out of Ohio State. So now, right off the bat, we're on to our next second round pick, pick number 53 overall. And when you look at the board, you have Sam Laporta, Tyreek Stevenson, Nathaniel Dell, DJ Turner, Luke Musgrave, you're running back from UCLA, and a guy that I really like. And this is what gets me excited. There's going to be some players that can potentially be first round picks that are going to drop. And the guy that has my attention right away, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce his name, is Tuli Tuipulotu, the edge rusher at USC. This is a guy that can play all along the defensive line. He's primarily edge rusher, but he can play anywhere from the 1 to 3 technique on the defensive line. This is a guy that could possibly be a first round pick. So if the Bears were able to get him at number 53, I would be really excited. So I'm going to go ahead with the 53 overall pick in the Chicago Bears final mock draft here on Kick on the Mic. I'm going to go ahead and select the edge rusher out of USC. I feel like this is an outstanding pick for the Chicago Bears. Once again, by trading down, we would now have 3 second-round picks. Obviously, for the purpose of this Chicago Bears mock draft, we have 3 second-round picks. And pick number 61, when you look at the board, I'm still very pleased with how the board's falling. We don't really need a tight end. You could take a look at the cornerback from Miami, Tyreek Stevenson. Nathaniel Dell still option, wide receiver from Houston. He's a guy that's kind of flying up draft boards. The running back from UCLA. He's been in many analyst mock drafts as it pertains to the Chicago Bears. So obviously he's an option. We don't really need a safety. So right here, when you look at the biggest needs, we still need a tackle. We could possibly add a cornerback here. So when you look at the board, when you look at best player available, I really like what Tyreek Stevenson brings to the game. So we can go ahead and get some more information on Tyreek Stevenson here. When you look at his stats from last year, he only gave up 17 receptions on 40 targets for 353 yards. Only gave up 3 touchdowns, but also had two interceptions as well. And this is a guy that can come in probably right away and be a pretty solid corner for the Chicago Bears. I talked about the cornerback position a lot. Ryan Poles did a very good job adding to the position last year and kind of building up that secondary with some young, solid pieces like Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon. But it wouldn't shock me in this draft if he adds 1 or 2 more cornerbacks to the Chicago Bears roster to complete that secondary. I think Tyreek Stevenson would be the perfect fit for the Chicago Bears roster. So I'm going to go ahead and take Tyreek Stevenson, cornerback out of Miami, with pick number 61 in round 2. So moving on, and obviously now we have the first pick in round 3 at pick number 64. And I think that's why, obviously when you trade back, not only do you have 3 picks in the second round, you have the very first pick in the third round as well, pick number 64. So you can add 4 very good players to your roster. So we added 2 defensive linemen, we added an offensive lineman at the center position, and then we obviously added a cornerback in this draft. So I feel like obviously it was disappointing that we missed out on a guy like Darnell Wright, Paris Johnson Jr., right? Maybe Lucas Van Ness. But I feel like by adding guys like Kalijah Cansey, Tuli Tuipulotu, sorry if I mispronounced his name, from USC, right? You added a cornerback, you added Luke Welper. I feel like that's a good start to this NFL draft. So let's take a look at the offensive tackles, because we still need to potentially find a right tackle. So when you look at the tackles, I'm still not comfortable with picking any of these tackles. And this would obviously be a bummer for the Chicago Bears and Ryan Poles. If this is how it fell and you had to pick a tackle later in the draft, I'm not sure if Ryan Poles would be okay with that. But at the same time, he was able to find Braxton Jones right in the 5th round. So I do trust his ability, if he does miss on a guy like Darnell Wright early, that he'd be able to find a quality right tackle or offensive tackle in general in the later rounds. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the main screen, and we look at the board, right here, we probably just have to start looking at best player available. So we don't need a tight end. Nathaniel Dell is still on the board, which is really intriguing to me. Wide receiver out of Houston. They can potentially take a running back here, right? The halfback from UCLA is still on the board, so I really like the idea of that. Cedric Tillman, wide receiver for Tennessee, he's also a solid option. I'm gonna go ahead and take the running back out of UCLA, Zach Charbonnet. And this is a guy that obviously has been on a lot of Chicago Bears mock drafts. This is a guy that intrigues me a lot. We can go ahead and get some more information on him. Last season in 10 games, he had 194 attempts for 1,358 yards. He had 14 touchdowns, and to go along with that, he had 37 receptions for 320 reception yards. So this is a guy that is active. This is a guy that can come in and be part of the rotation. I know a lot of people may think it doesn't make a lot of sense why we would add a running back here, but you never know, right? And I think this is a guy that can come in and be a pretty valuable asset to the football team. So I'm going to go ahead and take. I feel like he's the best player available. Obviously, you can still take Nathaniel Dell here, but I'm going to go ahead and take the running back from UCLA. So now we are moving on to round 4, and obviously the Chicago Bears have 2 fourth-round picks in this year's NFL draft at pick 103 and pick 133. So I feel like those are going to be 2 valuable picks. I was pretty impressed with what Ryan Poles was able to do in the middle rounds, especially in last year's draft, getting some quality talents. I know I mentioned Braxton Jones in round 5, right? So I'm really confident in Ryan Poles' scouting ability and the scouts that he brought into the Chicago Bears organization to find quality talent even in the later rounds. So I'm looking forward to that. So starting off, and we have the first pick in round 4 at pick 103. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at who's the best available. And obviously the Chicago Bears still are in search for an offensive tackle. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset with me, but like I said, this is just a live PFF mock draft simulator. It's basically doing all the work for me, right? So I'm just letting it play out, trying to do real life scenarios. Obviously, if it was just me writing my picks down on a piece of paper, I would have picked an offensive tackle early. I would have traded down, and I would have been like, you know what? I'm just positive that Darnell Wright's going to be there at number 17, and that would have been my pick for number 17 overall. But obviously, how this PFF mock draft simulator worked out for us in today's video, Geek on the Mic, that's just not how things work out, right? So it's a possibility that the Chicago Bears do in fact trade down from number 9 to number 17, he may not be there, and that's the risk that you have to take. So moving on, let's take a look at the offensive tackles again, because we could always go back and look. So obviously, once again, there's not a lot of tackles that you may be willing to reach for in round 4. So once again, I can see the Bears going ahead and just taking best player available here. And I know we already had a defensive lineman, but you still have Kobe Turner from Wake Forest. You have a halfback. We don't need a running back. Don't really need a safety. You can maybe take another edge rusher from Isaiah McGuire at edge out of Missouri. That's a guy that I've talked about before here on the podcast. So when I'm looking at this, I'm convinced to just go ahead and take another edge rusher in Isaiah McGuire, edge out of Missouri. We can go look and show more info on him. Last season in 12 games played, he had 515 defensive snaps. The pass rush snaps was 267. The run defensive snaps were 228. He had 7 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. He had 21 hurries, and that's pretty impressive because he remained consistent. If you look at his 2021 stats and 2022 stats, he remained consistent. He had 6 sacks in 2021, and he had 7 sacks in 2022. He had 23 total hurries in 2021 and 21 total hurries in 2022. So this is a guy that seems like he maintains consistency. It's a guy that could probably be a really good rotational pass rusher for the Chicago Bears. And at this moment, when you're looking at area of need, this could possibly be the best player available for the Chicago Bears. So I'm going to go ahead and select Isaiah McGuire, the edge rusher out of Missouri, with the first pick in round 4. And now we're moving on with the final pick in this final Chicago Bears mock draft. Obviously, if you didn't hear me at the beginning of the video, I'm only doing 4 rounds here for the purpose of today's video. And we're just going to try to take the best player available. Obviously, I think we're pretty set on defensive linemen. I'm comfortable with taking another cornerback. I'm another guy that's kind of Sticking out on this list is Ivan Pace Jr. The linebacker out of Cincinnati. That's another guy that kind of catch my attention. But I'm going to take a look at Jalen Jones, the cornerback out of Texas A&M. When you look at his stats, yeah, 2 interceptions in 2021, but in 10 games played, he had no interceptions, but his passer rating against him was pretty low. So he's a lockdown corner. So I do like that. And I told you earlier in this video that I can see Ryan Poles at least taking 2 cornerbacks, maybe 1 or maybe 2, to basically complete that secondary. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, he's done a really good job of building up the secondary with young pieces. Obviously, Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon, right? We already picked the corner earlier in this video. So he's done a really good job of building this young secondary. Let's take a look at Ivan Pace Jr., linebacker of Cincinnati, before we make our final decision here. And when you look at Ivan Pace Jr., it looks like he's a tackling machine, right? He had 92 tackles last season. He missed 19 tackles, which is okay. He had 85 tackles the year before that, and 13 games played in each year. So obviously the Bears don't really need another linebacker. They could possibly use one more, maybe for special teams purposes. Maybe this guy ends up being really good. But the Bears did invest a lot of money in the linebacker position. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the best player available at the position of need. You could also maybe go Kobe Turner. We can take a look at Kobe Turner, defensive lineman from Wake Forest as well. When you look at his stats in 13 games played, he had 3 sacks, 4 hits, 27 hurries. So that is very intriguing as well. We can look at his analysis as well, and it says Turner dominated on the interior for the Wake Forest last season. In his first year with the team after transferring from Richmond, Turner earned a 93.1 run defensive grade and an 88.8 pass rushing grade. He's just a tad thin frame for a defensive tackle, measuring in at 288 pounds with only 32-inch arms. So obviously we did take Calijah Kancey earlier. If you get a guy like Kobe Turner, this can definitely complete your defensive line. As I mentioned so many times on this podcast, our defensive line was putrid, and we can use a lot of help on this defensive line. And they say he's small. He's 6'3", 290 pounds. He is 23 years old. But this sounds like a guy that can come in, play anywhere along the defensive line. He could be an edge rusher. He can play the 3 technique for you. So maybe you can start moving guys like Calijah Kancey and Kobe Turner around, and really cause the offensive line from opposing teams some trouble. So I'm going to go ahead and with the final pick in round 4 in the Chicago Bears mock draft, I'm going to go ahead and select Kobe Turner, the defensive lineman out of Wake Forest. So there we go. That is my final Chicago Bears 4-round mock draft. And let's go over what I did here in today's video. Once again, I started off by trading the number 9 overall pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers and received number 17 overall pick, a round 2 pick this year, and also a round 2 pick in the 2024 NFL draft. I instantly selected Calijah Kancey, defensive lineman out of Pittsburgh. I really like that pick. And then in the first pick in round 2, I select center Luke Welper out of Ohio State. With my second round 2 pick, I selected edge rusher at USC. In my third second round pick, I selected the cornerback Tyreek Stevenson out of Miami. In round 3, pick number 64, I selected the halfback out of UCLA. In round 4, pick 103, I selected another edge rusher out of Missouri. And then with my final pick in round 4, pick at pick 133, I selected defensive lineman Kobe Turner out of Wake Forest, and the PFF mock draft simulator gave me an overall draft grade of an A-. Do you guys agree with the grade that the PFF mock draft simulator gave me? I'll be straight up honest with you guys. I'm not too pleased with my haul of picks. I am comfortable with it. I would be fine with it. But overall, it was a bummer that when I traded down, that Darnell Wright wasn't there. I'm fine with Calijah Kancey. I know that he can possibly be a game changer. But it was tough that when I traded down from number 9 and got the number 17 overall pick from the Pittsburgh Steelers, that Darnell Wright wasn't there. But overall, I'm fine with my haul of players. I still feel like we addressed a lot of needs. And obviously, I didn't do a full 7-round mock draft. There's still probably going to be a lot of hidden gems in terms of offensive tackles. So I know a lot of people are going to comment on this video and say like, well, Keek, you didn't get an offensive tackle. It's okay. Once again, like I mentioned earlier in today's video, Ryan Poles, I have a lot of faith in Ryan Poles. That he can find these hidden gems, right? He's able to find Braxton Jones in the 5th round last year, right? So I do have a lot of faith in Ryan Poles. But overall, I'm super excited for the 2023 NFL draft. Round 1 starts on Thursday. Once again, I want to remind you guys that I will be going live on Thursday starting at 4:30 p.m. PST. So make sure you come join that live stream and come get my live reaction of not only the Chicago Bears pick and what they do, but all the picks in general, right? So it's going to be a crazy night, and I'm looking forward to it. But once again, before I let you guys go, what is the final grade that you guys give me on my final Chicago Bears 4-round mock draft? Let me know down below in the comment section. Before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for all new Bears podcasts right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.